Good afternoon and welcome to CannaList Conversations. We're here with the folks from Holyworld. Sorry. If you guys would be kind enough to introduce yourselves and tell me a little bit about when the company started.
Yeah, so I'm Holyworld. I have strategy in Europe, and this is Eleanor, marketing and PR. And so Holyworld itself, I actually work for MPXI International, who is a parent company, and we purchased Holyworld back in 2019. It's a wholly Swiss brand. It was one of the only pro-certified organic Swiss brands, and to this date, it's the only brand that has its entire product line as certified. And it started off as a smokables brand. Now it's doing oils. We've set up a lab in Switzerland as well that does its own extraction. We've currently got a retail shop, and essentially the brand is now building out its retail footprint. It's a brand that is quite popular in French Switzerland and France itself, and now the brand is looking to expand. So it is in effect the consumer headquarters of for MPXI International.
And MPXI International is a Canadian company, correct?
The Canadian company that they work on both the medical lines and the consumer lines. So MPXI itself has operations in Canada, Australia, South Africa, Malta, and Switzerland and the UK.
And when they acquired you, were they looking to acquire a product line, a brand? What was the intent behind the acquisition?
So when we purchased Holyworld, when MPXI purchased Holyworld, it was to acquire the brand equity itself. There was a lot of power in that. We recognized that the future of the industry, really, particularly here, is branding. You know, as you've seen with commodities prices, so hemp, flour, etc. They've just plummeted. You know, we harvested something like 90 tons of high CBD cannabis in 2019, and it was at that point we were selling this stuff at X amount, and now Y. And the reason I say this X and Y is because the price is quite volatile. I mean, nowadays you're buying a kilo of flour at about maybe 400 a kilo, whereas 2 years ago you were buying this at about maybe 1,000 or so. This is outdoor grown organic flour, about 1,000 a kilo or so. And it's the same with as you're coming online, you go to extraction, you have crude oils and distillation, you have distillate oil, CBD distillates, and the pricing and isolates as well. You've seen it come completely down. I mean, 3 years ago in the US, I think isolate was going for a couple thousand a kilo, and nowadays it's going for about 500 a kilo. And so we genuinely believed in, and still do believe in, the value and the power in brand equity and the IP of a brand itself that is firmly established and has the ability to be scalable. So that was a big part of the purchase logic and rationale. And the other part was Holyworld had its own proprietary genetics. Because it's in Switzerland. In Switzerland, you can grow hemp up to 1%. Rather than the rest of Europe where it's 0.2 or America where it's 0.3. Yep. And what that allows us to do is crossbreed. We have our own breeders on site, which we're crossbreeding actual cannabis plants with industrial high CBD, semi-low THC, i.e. below 1% plant that was much more kind of had a lot more depth in its cannabinoid profile. And that was because we were able to grow up to 1% THC. Naturally, when you're growing plants and genetics that are only 0.2% THC, there's a lot more limitation in the presence of other cannabinoids. And we do believe in the benefits of the entourage effect. And we, as an industry, don't know much about many of the other cannabinoids, and we're only starting the new trends like CBG and CBN taking effect these days and coming onto the market, and we believe that there will be more of that. So we really kind of saw value in having the ability to grow 1% proprietary genetics in Switzerland.
And you guys are differentiated from what we see from the big players, where in Europe they pursued the medicinal route, right? Why did you go down a different path than trying to pursue something medicinal?
Well, so the great thing is, as a business, as MPXI International, there's two routes in Europe. We have the consumer headquarters, which is Holyworld, and that focuses on CBD at the moment, setting up this brand and this brand equity. And then we've got our medicinal route, which is the Maltese facility, which is a GMP, well, almost EU GMP. We're expecting the license in about September this year. That's EU GMP license. We've got a cultivation facility that we're building out in the Stellenbosch region in South Africa, which will be greenhouse, full THC medical cannabis that will be shipped to our Maltese facility for repacking, processing, repacking, and distribution. And that will essentially be our for cannabis in Europe.
And how do you?
Whereas Holyworld, yeah.
And how do you deal with what's going on in the market where we see a flood of products, but without regulation, without labeling and compliance? We don't know what they are. We don't know what they contain. How do you respond to that?
So part of that, again, the USP of Holyworld was this vertical integration. The genetics were ours. We grew it with farmers here in Switzerland. Everything was grown within 500 kilometers by our own teams. It's processed in-house in the lab just behind me over there. So seed to shelf, it's in our hands. So we have full traceability, and we're able to provide this full traceability. We really pride ourselves as a business. And I think as an industry, it's a standard. There's not a lot of people that do this, but there are a few other companies that do this as well, particularly in America with very sales tracking systems that are able to show customers, you pick up a bottle of oil from the shelf and you can say this bottle of oil was grown in, in the field in Cesare just down the road here. Or it was grown in, Valais down the next canton over from us. And so that is one thing that we find really important, to be able to show people the full kind of process and have this transparency. And then the other kind of, I think the short answer is self-regulation. And the other aspect of this is testing. We test in-house. We also have third-party tests, and a lot of companies are a lot of serious companies are beginning to do this, and are doing this and have been doing this. So it's testing ourselves plus third-party validation, independent third-party validation. And then finally, the regulation that's been coming in Europe is actually quite welcome. It's pushing a lot of people that might not be so serious, people that are just trying to make a quick buck out of the market, and particularly that food, which we have an application in with a consortium, and that's been accepted by the FSA and by the European Medical Authority. And so for us, that's a very welcome and great step. Not only does it set us apart from people as an industry, it really is able to show who is capable and genuine company that has an interest in furthering the overall industry into a place where we can, come out of the shadows, but come into a place of over transparency and regulation and have a consistency in products.
And what does your product line include?
So our current product line, it's twofold. There is the products we have for the EU market, and the products we have for Switzerland, and the difference comes from obviously the THC regulation, where in Switzerland it's 1% and EU is 1%. So in Switzerland we sell smokable flower, CBD flower, which is up to 1% THC. We have pre-rolled CBD joints, high CBD joints. We also have our oils, which are CBD distillate oils, all up to the 1% mark. And in addition to that, we've just rolled out a new line, which is CBD cigarettes. So that's no tobacco. It's purely CBD. However, it comes in essentially a cigarette pack, and they're pre-rolled, all biodegradable. So these are all our Swiss products. So as you can see, there's a solid mix between the smokables and the kind of oils and derivative side. And our derivatives are expanding in Switzerland as to keep up with market trends. We're looking at having some cosmetic lines out internally, and a few other lines that Eleanor will discuss later. But in the EU market, we are currently doing oils. Our main focus in the EU is oils, and we do that on a consumer basis, on a B2C basis through our own brand, but we also sell it on a B2B basis, which people have used our oils just as tinctures that they sell over the counter, but also in derivative products like candles and gummies and creams and drinks and various other derivative products that people are currently formulating.
And are these derivative products typically around wellness or?
Yes, exactly. They're typically aimed around the wellness category. They're typically aimed around, you know, the kind of oil side that treat, without obviously saying they treat. The people
Right, we're not making any claims.
No, exactly. But people use these products, as is reported, to treat you know, lack of sleep or anxiety and pain, sometimes for muscle soreness or sometimes just for joint pain. There's various uses, and that is one of the largest drivers. And we're finding, you know, some people are also using it just kind of, well, funny things. Like we've had reports of people using it as a hangover thing in the morning. You know, a bit hungover, have some CBD, makes you calm down a little bit, feel all right. And so a lot of people in a new and up and coming part of this is including it in intimacy products and in people's kind of sexual lives, which is really growing, and you see that in America specifically. But that trend seems to be, you know, coming over here with just a handful of companies leveraging that.
And what are the benefits of CBD in a sensual product?
Eleanor?
Well, as Harner was saying, it become a pretty big phenomenon in the States, in a sense that people, and especially women, after the Me Too movement, and not to get into the specifics of who are the feminists and what do they talk about, but when it comes to sexual relationship and menstrual pain and endometriosis, which is causing a lot of pain to a lot of women, and they haven't been talking openly about it because they were ashamed of that. It was a sensitive topic that no one wanted to actually speak in places. And combined to the fact that people are really changing their life hygiene, and especially when COVID hits and people were stuck at home, they started realizing that they wanted to shift towards alternative medicines, something natural, something organic, rather than just popping pills. And when it comes down to menstrual pain or sexual pain, when you apply something directly on intimate parts, you might as well have something organic, 100% natural, with things that are not coming from pharmaceutical derivatives, from anything that is synthetic. And that's why people are using it for that as number one reason. And the second reason is because if a balm is used at a specific area to reduce pain, if you put it in a local place to reduce pain, why not use it in intimacy products? And a lot of surveys, and we've done actually something at our store, the Holyworld store in Geneva, where not claiming medically that it has been proven, but truth is a lot of people have used CBD lubricants and they claim that it enhances orgasm. And we've had people queuing at the store just to buy some because it's a new thing that for once is not just to the guy. So right now we're really seeing the shifting in terms of mentality, where when CBD arrived, at least in Europe, people just assumed that it was the legal way of smoking a joint. But now we realize, and as Harna was saying, we realize that people are using oil more than actual CBD flower smokable products. The biggest clientele are women aged between 45 and 60, and they're using CBD in their tea to reduce arthritis, to reduce psoriasis or acne on the skin. It could be also an athlete who uses to reduce soreness. And we've come to realize that there are a lot of needs that can be used and cured with CBD, and people are more inclined to learn about alternative possibilities for a disease, a need, something painful. And it also goes down to stress, anxiety, and sleep. A lot of people are more anxious and more stressed out because of the current sanitary situation. And instead of, again, popping pills every single day, they might as well drink a CBD infusion herbal tea than getting a Valium or a Lexamil every single night.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, you know, if you are taking CBD to get a buzz, you're probably taking the wrong product, right? There's other things out there that, you know, will help you much better. And I'm not suggesting what they are. I'm just suggesting that CBD is not the one to get the good buzz on. But we, you know, clearly what we've seen is, you know, in the wellness area, there's a lot of areas that are yet to be explored. And there's a lot of areas where we're initially seeing some benefit from these types of products. Obviously, we want to continue down the path with, you know, to substantiate this with medical evidence, you know, so that will come in a couple of years as people begin to use more and more of these products for wellness type of products. But where can people go, I don't know, on your website or your store, where they want to learn more? Because, you know, this is an interesting topic, but clearly there's not a lot of information out there about CBD and intimacy, CBD and, you know, central products. Where do they find out this type of information?
I mean, I think one of the best things just about CBD in general, if you're just trying to learn, is really, you know, when you head to Google and just try to look at some of the journals, which are always the medical journals, which are always releasing really interesting articles about CBD and the studies that have been done. I can't remember the name now. It was an Italian university that just did a study on CBD, and it was, you know, it was about a 2-year study, which is actually quite long based on CBD and the studies that have been done recently. I mean, one of the issues is we need to have a study done that spans, you know, 10 years and is really all encompassing. And unfortunately, well, we just don't have that yet. But obviously, the industry is going to continue moving. But when we do have that, I think it'll shed a lot of light on things. But, you know, that I think that's a great resource, just about the actual cannabinoid system itself and get some insight on it, and, you know, see that this is something for you, and maybe it's something that you should try or could try, and maybe it's not, you know, and it's a great way to get some insight. And once I think people are comfortable, then yeah, by all means, you know, go to either one of our websites, our EU focused or Holy We website, which is Swiss focused, and our EU focus, which is CBD Etc.com. And we have blogs, we have journals from us, from other brands that we work with, and solid information there, and a lot of links to some of these journals I'm talking about and some of these other articles I'm talking about that can, you know, if you find something interesting, expand your mind some more and click through and read into it. And there's a lot of interesting stuff out there right now that can really shape opinions for people that are wanting to use this.
And if I can add something about CBD Etc, the whole point of this platform is, as you pointed out earlier, of everything and anything, and it's really hard to figure out what to buy, where to buy it, where the prices are so different. The point with CBD Etc is to gather a maximum of brand that we carefully curate, and we have each product tried by ambassadors and testers and people who are in the team, and even the press. Obviously, the website is fairly new because it's a baby website. We launched it about 2 months ago, so we're really building the reputation of the website and the content, because obviously the way that we want to bring and visibility to brands and to the industry as a whole is to have people participating and giving their own feedback. We don't want to pay them to get just a positive review on our website. The idea is that we have to grow together, and the problem with an industry like the CBD industry is that it's growing really fast, and so there's like brands popping in every single day, but only the best one will remain, but that will take a few months or a few years. So if we can already start cleaning up, not the bad ones, I mean, we're not pointing a finger at anyone. It's just that if you want to get into an industry, no matter what industry it is, you need to master the basis and the foundation of that industry. And one of the reasons why we put a lot of time in creating CBD Etc, that we're bringing life to a lot of brands in the industry who have specialized in a product or a necessity to a specific audience. And we were talking about the intimacy a few minutes ago. Quim, which is an American brand, is specialized in lubricant and daily oil and suppositories for menstrual pain. But we have also another brand like Kiskanu, we have Danny Pepper. I mean, we have like a variety of brands, and we've selected them because they're the best at what they do in that specific CBD area.
And maybe quickly, just to clarify, I don't know if we really explained this earlier, but so Holy Weed itself is our Swiss brand. CBD Etc was our kind of European marketplace where it's multi-branded. You know, hence why Eleanor's naming. We've got various brands from the States, from around the UK, from other parts of Europe, from Switzerland on this website that is available, you know, all across the EU on various mediums. So that's just to clarify that point.
So one of the things, I mean, if you're familiar with this market, there's basically two approaches, right? So there's the medicinal side, which is a different way of growing, it's more controlled, and then there's sort of you know, the consumer products, and we've kind of equated this to more like the craft beer market, where people want to know where it's grown, they want to know it's organic, they want to know, you know, those type of things. And I know that you mentioned that, you know, you do outdoor grows that are organic. Why is that important, and why was that something that you focused on initially?
Yeah, but part of that was, you know, the kind of ethos of the brand, which was this very natural, very clean, very organic, very Swiss brand. You know, to put it plainly, and you know, Switzerland and Swiss quality is associated with good quality, so that was another, again, a USP. And you know, growing outdoors, I mean, in Switzerland, where you know, in terms of pollution, in terms of this and that, it's very, you know, 10 minutes out of the city, you're already in wilderness and you know, in the mountains immediately. And you come to our facility, which is 10 minutes out of Geneva, and from here, I mean, you drive about 5 minutes and you're in the mountains. You know, it's a great place to be able to grow a clean product in good quality soil, not too far from the facility, and yet still have a very, very high quality yield coming out of it. You know,
and there's also you know, a more sort of earth-friendly approach to growing outside. You know, we're not burning up electricity with lights and all of that.
Exactly. That's, you know, and that's the other thing. We're not making this massive impact on the land here, and we're you know, sticking to the ethos of the brand, which is sustainability and just being natural and organic. And so you know, the other thing is, obviously, when we're growing outdoors, a big part of that is soil testing and ensuring everything is good to go prior to. So that's why it was so important to get this pro certification, which in Switzerland is you know, it's quite a big deal in the sense that they come and test the soil with you. They come and look at the product that are growing. I mean, in some cases, it's funny, they actually
Who is they?
The ProCert organization that will come, you know, Sector comes, and it's an independent third-party organization that comes and certifies you.
Okay.
And it's funny because hemp is like a sponge. You know, anything that's in the soil just gets sucked right up into there. Hence why soil tests are so important. We got to make sure that there's no heavy metals, no nonsense in the soil before we start planting. And it's funny because we were growing hemp, and hemp already is like a sponge. And the ProCert inspectors, sometimes what they do is they plant pumpkins in the field and test the pumpkins, because pumpkins are similarly like a sponge.
Okay.
And pack up all of the, whatever it is, heavy metals, contaminants, whatever it may be, so you can test the pumpkin for various you know, inequalities in that soil.
And you guys had mentioned that you're looking to expand, obviously, beyond the Swiss market. What can we expect in the coming year or so?
So it's a busy year for us. It's a busy year. We've just launched CBD Etc 2 months ago, which was a big step that really allowed us to service our European customers more. That's currently being out of Switzerland, and you know, as orders are you know, going. I mean, it's been a blast so far. It's been moving at a much faster pace than we expected. So we're thinking of moving that to into the actual, you know, EU market and having fulfillment from there. And the other reason for that is we're opening 3 new shops this year, and currently we're you know, location scouting for Zurich, Paris, and London, and these shops will be Holyweed shops, you know, across the EU, and it'll really allow us to grow both brands together, as well as bring our kind of values and our brand sustainability to other markets where, you know, where we believe that that's needed in some cases. I mean, London is a very developed CBD market, but you go to say Paris, it's just starting. You know, France has really just opened up since the Innovate EU High Court ruling late last year.
Right.
And France is really starting to pick up. So these are places where we really want to be able to spread our values and be able to shape the industry with partners and other people working in it.
And how did COVID impact your retail rollout?
So, I mean, in terms of our retail store, we opened our store in about February last year in Geneva, which is a very unfortunate time, I suppose you would imagine, just before COVID. But I must say, we had e-commerce at the same time, and, you know, like I said, the brand equity was there. We actually continuously did month-on-month growth throughout the pandemic, and continue to do so now, which is something we're very, very proud of, and very proud of the team for putting that together. And that being said, you know, we had initially planned to look at stores late last year. We'll have stores, you know, going late last year, but obviously with COVID and things going very back and forth, it was a bit uncertain. So we pushed that now to this year. So we're looking at you know, a summer, fall, and winter opening in this year, and that will kind of, you know, it's kind of clumped our openings together, but at the same time, at least we've got a season between them, and that allows us to, you know, catch our breath before we go to the next one.
And if people want to learn more about what you guys are doing, what are the websites again?
Yep, you guys can visit holyweed.ch, which is our Swiss website, and there's also CBD Etc.com, which is our EU-focused website.
We can type it CBD-Etc.com.
Yes, to clarify, CBD-Etc.com. And, you know, both of our websites, there's a wealth of knowledge. There's, you know, soon to be some ambassadors on there, you know, taking consultancy calls if you'd like to have a chat. You know,
Instagram are great tools on both accounts, cbd.etc or We Are Holyweed.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the problems that we talked about. It's really complicated to communicate openly about CBD because you can't really use keywords like cannabis, hemp, joints, all these kind of stuff. Otherwise, you'll be banned from Instagram. So you just play around, and we're actually having a lot of fun, especially with CBD Etc account, in posting things about wellness, about more responding to people's needs rather than actually talking about CBD products. But by responding to the need, we're offering a CBD solution. So that's one way to work things around.
and that being said, if anyone's, you know, got any questions or any concerns or anything, we're pretty responsive. You know, like Eleanor said, shoot a Instagram DM, and we usually, you know, we can answer that within a couple hours.
And we will definitely put those links below so that folks can check them out. We appreciate your spending the time with us, and this afternoon we look forward to the expansion and seeing you guys take over Europe. Thanks again, and thanks for joining CannaList Conversations.
Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.